Despite many gamers being socially awkward individuals, RPGs never truly let us roleplay that type of character. It's always expected that you'll converse with the local idiots to complete their quests, purchase items, or even just gather your allies. But what if you were so shy and introverted that the idea of speaking with another person was worse than the choice of death? Can you beat Baldur's Gate 3 without talking to others? We begin this journey as Shadowheart for reasons which will be revealed later, and immediately upon loading into the game, Shadowheart speaks.
Where am I?
Clearly, we're gonna need some ground rules. For this run, it will only count as talking if anyone in my party speaks to someone else. Talking to yourself is okay, spellcasting's fine, and because Larian uses a different style text for non-vocal options in their cutscenes, it's easy to see what you can and cannot select. Unfortunately, these rules only save me for about 20 more seconds because Lae'zel jumps down to be the first roadblock of the challenge. Any option you can select here immediately fails the run. You don't get many tools this early into the game to get by here, so my first idea of tactically playing with the prism to ignore her totally failed. The next idea was using the minor illusion high elf racial to lure the imps over and start combat. This too doesn't work, however it increases your vision range, letting you spy on the imps like a filthy perv. With them in your sights, you can issue an attack command on them, and your character will do it in the background during the cutscene with Lae'zel, starting combat before I need to speak. I double checked in the dialogue history screen to ensure that no words are spoken, something I will be doing frequently, and so that our socially awkward hero and Lae'zel never risk speaking with one another, I stripped the superior Githyanki armor from her back, before forcing Lae'zel to jump to a certain doom. With her gone, there's no danger of further social interaction throughout the rest of the Nautiloid. The battles are won, the transponder transponded, and the beach begins. However, something very unusual happened when I regained control of my character this time. Lae'zel normally leaves your party as soon as the Nautiloid is complete, but an unexpected bonus of the minor illusion dialogue skip I'd found is that Lae'zel remains in your party, not needing to be recruited. I wasn't sure how to handle this yet, as I can't exactly ask her to wait in camp, that would be cheating, so I decided to leave her dead for now, ignoring her like all the other many problems in my life. After all, it's not like any other companion can be recruited without a word on my behalf. From here I set off to participate in the Goblin Gate battle. It went as smoothly as ever, but entering the grove is far too risky with Zevlor there waiting in ambush to offer friendship. The usual YouTuber method of dialogue skipping to level 4 ain't an option today, so I targeted the weakest enemies in the region before sneaking below the blighted village to featherfall into the Underdark. This got me to level 3, and I multi-classed to the new Cleric of Stars Druid subclass. Unlike other playthroughs, any class choice I make is permanent, as Withers cannot be spoken with to change it later. The Starry Druid subclass has a lot of solid early game solo power. For example, its Dragon Breath I used to kill steal this Minotaur is a high damage bonus action attack that can't miss, something we all know Shadowheart needs desperately. I also figured Animal Form to be a pretty good tool to prevent myself from speaking. The XP down here is nice, but the real reason I beeline for the Selûnite outpost is the Luminous armor. When dealing radiant damage, this armor reduces enemy attack rolls, synergizing overpoweredly with the Star Druid's radiant attacks. It's so broken that early game battles where you're completely outnumbered become a walk in the park, even while going full Shadowheart and missing 3/4 of your attacks. As a cat, I set Barkus free. He gave no thanks, just as I'd hoped. In the Blighted Village, I got ready to face off solo against several level 4 ogres. Using dash and Starry Archer arrows, I was able to kite the creatures all the way to the grove. Spider form got me inside because this cowardly tiefling refused to open the gate, and I used this combat status to make my way past all these normally chatty individuals just to gather a bit of minuscule XP from feeding a fish to a bear. This also got me into Kaga's room, where I had the brilliant idea to destroy the necromancy of Thay. It did work, but not really in the way I expected. Arabella suddenly died without cause, Kaga rightfully claimed I betrayed her, and a war broke out within the grove. Once these shadow creatures fell, the other druids left me alone with Kaga. Big mistake. I haven't lost a 1v1 since my days on Rust. She got owned. I only just began this challenge, and my refusal to speak and attempts to be clever already ended up getting a lot of innocent people killed. And while I'd normally be bothered by all these failed future quests, this time I couldn't care less. To continue my streak of instigating wars, I'd figured I'd try luring the Githyanki over to Joaquin's Rest. I read a comment from a viewer that claims that this causes them to fight one another, but as we all know, 90% of the advice given out on YouTube are lies and bullshit. Could this be the mythical 10%? Turns out, yes. I happily watched as these flaming fists absolutely deleted my Githyanki stalkers. Wasn't even close. They may be too incompetent to open a door, but they easily handled the toughest outdoor encounter of Act 1. To show my thanks, I freed Floric as a badger, evading her quest rewards entirely, and continued fighting gnolls around the region using my starry hit and run tactics. For a change of pace, and a break from murder, I met up with Scratch. The animal handling options here allow you to recruit the pup without uttering a word. Dogs truly are the perfect companion for any socially inept adventure. adventurer. My animal forms let me explore the world without fear of communication from humankind. Everywhere except for the goblin camp, of course. That's because once you trigger the handsome Gortash cutscene, and yeah, that's its name now, you'll lose the ability to long rest within the region, because a certain dream visitor will appear and force you to speak. In my book, it doesn't matter if it's a dream, that's still speaking, and it's illegal. Because of that, I saved the goblin camp for last and headed straight for Grimforge. But after defeating the Dwegar with some gusts of wind, I learned that upon arrival, you're forced into a conversation without any attack options available, despite the fact that this lady dwarf is clearly threatening me. What gives, Larian? My saving grace came in the form of a dead Lae'zel. Because she's still in the party, I could swap to her during the cutscene and then select a summoned creature, using it to instigate the fight before Shadowheart needs to speak. Murder Hobo and Grimforge more than made up for all that missed quest XP that you'd normally find in Act 1. And it's like they always say, if you can't help him, you may as well kill him. As a decked out level 5, I crossed the bridge to trigger the handsome Gortash cutscene, slaughtered all the goblins without a long rest, and returned to Lae'zel. You can't lift glowy magical light balls, so she's revived and killed again so her corpse could accompany me to the mountain pass. No life nerds at home like myself probably realize this should be the end of the challenge. Entering the mountain pass forces a long rest, and in your camp you need to speak with Raphael before you can continue. There are exploits to let you knock out Raphael in long rest anyways, but even then your dream visitor scene plays out, forcing you to talk there. Accepting reality has never been something I was good at, so rather than call it quits now, I set out in search of a brand new skip. It's like that Minecraft meme about finding diamonds. Never give up on your dreams, kids. Time to throw random shit at the wall and see what sticks. Maybe a spectator in my bed could break my dream. Of course not. That's stupid. Could I go through Grimforge instead? Again, doesn't work. 45 minutes of further nonsense ensued until I discovered this rather simple trick. Place the mysterious artifact into your hotbar for easy access, and then leave the region. After clicking yes to the prompt asking if you want to continue to the mountain pass, spam the hotkey that your artifact is on. The game then tries to pull up the cutscene, but because you're already in a cutscene, it doesn't know what to do. You then immediately long rest, ignoring your dream visitor, and wake up in camp during the day, with Raphael standing in the corner like a chump. Because it's daytime, you can just leave your camp, moving you directly to the mountain pass, skipping all of those supposed Act 1 mandatory dialogues. Verified, of course, by opening my dialogue history. Lae'zel somehow managed to self-revive, only to be killed again, and it's off to the crèche to exterminate the rest of her people. Since I'm forced to be multiclassed as a level 1 cleric the entire game, I figured I'd use the most broken, brain-dead combo in existence to make my life easier. Despite being almost a 2-year-old game at this point, Moonbeam can be cast without interrupting the immunity granted by Sanctuary. I don't know why. Larian has patched much stupider things than this, and yet you can still cast Moonbeam to delete nearly anything in the game without them fighting back. It's great XP here, and lore-wise we all know how Shadowheart feels about Gith. The only section which took some finesse was to skip Vlaakith's dialogue. By maintaining the combat status with the Githyanki soldiers and just solving the statue puzzle whilst in combat, you can ignore her and claim the blood of Lathander. With that, it came time to enter the Shadow-Cursed lands. Immediately upon loading into Act 2, Lae'zel again self-revived and decided she'd talk without being told to do so.
Can you feel it?
Not okay. I reloaded and thought maybe the Grimforge path would work, but doing so again causes Lae'zel to speak to me.
I'd thought you insufferable.
I went back to option 1, and funny enough the solution this time, as with most things in life, is violence. Use the attack option as quickly as possible upon loading into Act 2, and Lae'zel doesn't have time to say a word. To be doubly sure she STFUs, I turned Lae'zel into a bear. Bears can't talk no matter how many children's books lie and say that they can. Plus it's about time we changed up the left side portrait on the screen. This seemingly pointless decision ended up saving me moments later, as I'd probably have lost the battle against the goblin caravan up the road if not for Bearzel. While Act 1 wasn't really all that bad, as I could just spam long rest as much as I wanted, for the rest of the game I could never long rest again, or else that dastardly dream visitor will appear and force me to speak. No vendors means potions are hard to get, so efficiency is going to be the key. As luring my enemies seems to be working quite well, I figured I'd try leading the Drider all the way to Last Light Inn. I crossed the bridge, stepping in, hoping the Harpers would take my side, but upon arrival they raged war upon me, much like YouTube did when they demonetized my corpse explosion only video. Like, come on, how was I supposed to know that weaponizing corpses isn't family friendly? Clearly outnumbered, I sanctuaried and hoped for the best. Thankfully, they all ignored my untargetable ass to kill Karnus, including Fist Marcus, strangely enough. He ended up doing most of the work, letting me scoop up the Moon Lantern at the cost of just 1 spell slot. After escaping combat into the prison, I used my cat form to inconspicuously steal the Harper's valuables, then attempted to equip the Moon Lantern on Lae'zel. A bit of a mistake because that pixie immediately locked her into a dialogue which couldn't end without a word. Yet again, Shadowcat was forced to slay her own ally. Poor Lae'zel, you really chose the wrong leader this time. I dragged the Moon Lantern the same way a cat would do it to reach Moonrise Towers unharmed by the curse. Additional perks of being a cat are that you're not expected to speak to the guards upon arrival. They ignored my approach, allowing me to reach the tower's summit. Up here I used minor illusion to lure skeletal minions to the safety railing free edge and toss them off one by one. With the undead dead, I snuck into Balthazar's room, failing 7 rolls in a row to get inside for a less talkative moon lantern. From there my list of moonrise tasks is complete and it was back into the shadow curse, straight over Raphael's head and into the gauntlet of Shar. Balthazar's goons saw right through my insect disguise with a unique voice line to boot. Luckily I didn't have to speak, nor did I have to fight as I fled, leaving those bone boys to die. The easiest trial was of course completed. I know this maze like the back of my ass at this point. An umbral gem was in my possession, and all I needed now was the Spear of Night. It's just next door. I stealthily obtained the book, then snuck back in as a cat, because they're small enough to jump directly through the bars of this door. The spear is mine, all without pissing off any of Shar's warriors. Mainly because I didn't want to do the other trials, I snuck into the Mason's Guild to get the only Nox scroll you can find in Act 2. Invisibly I sidestepped Shar's warriors, placed the gem, and was jump scared by Lady Shar. Being a god, she has the power to lock Shadowheart into a conversation, and the run was dead if not for Lae'zel. She used the tried and true murder me method to get me out of talking with my own god, revived me, and saved the day. We knocked our way into the Shadowfell, and as I clicked into there, another Shadowheart cutscene played. Sweat ran down my brow as I prayed she wouldn't speak. She didn't. Now within Shar's domain, Balthazar appeared to speak to me. Thankfully, Larian let us avoid that one with a non-vocal option. I then lured him to the cliff's edge and pushed him to his death. Now, the entire reason I'd picked Shadowheart was for exactly this moment. There is no way to kill or avoid speaking with the Night Song unless you are Shadowheart. She alone has the kill option, and kill she did do. Pantherzel and I exited the Shadowfell to be surprised by a rhyming devil. For a brief moment my heart sunk, until I saw that beautiful attack option sitting in the corner. It just straight up ends the scene. Another bullet dodged. I returned back to Moonrise for the rooftop Ketheric encounter, and once again those anti-introvert socialist devs at Larian Studios force you to talk. And this time, there is no non-vocal option available. No attack options either. Additionally, any humanoid on this rooftop is forced to join the conversation, and the game even shifts you out of animal forms to do it. Another speed bump in the road that is the life of Proxy. Dozens of minutes of experiments took place, leading to a new solution. This time Scratch is the hero. Although, had I known about this earlier, I would have definitely planned a stronger summon than Scratch. Because any summon is able to be here on the rooftop without joining the conversation, I had expected I could use one to attack Ketheric and start the battle. But oddly enough, that doesn't work. Instead, Ketheric and his dog totally ignore anyone hitting them. For more than 20 minutes, Scratch continuously bit Ketheric's ass, absolutely chewing it apart. The absurdity of a dude just sitting here waiting for 20 minutes for Shadowheart to reply to what he said in the conversation while a dog continuously bit his ass had me laughing. I dropped him below 50% health, but nothing was really changing. What did work to break the conversation was to kill Shadowheart, and I'd once again avoided what Larian probably thought is an undodgeable cutscene. Thanks to the best boy, our party narrowly maneuvered the rooftop Ketheric encounter to enter the Mind Flayer colony. A much needed pseudo long rest was used, and I farmed the local populace to reach level 8. Down the elevator we went, one big bear and a Shadowheart. Colony Ketheric is a bit of a weird part of this otherwise totally normal challenge run, because you can absolutely kill him without any dialogue just so long as you stay wild shaped from start to finish. But the strategy I'm using today is my Tower to Heaven. While I hate using the same Merkle strategy 2 videos in a row, there is a reason I need to do this. You'll see soon. My Tower of Crates was built, and because of how high up I am, Shadowheart is outside of range of the combat trigger. From this height, thrown objects will deal 50 plus damage per hit, guaranteeing Ketheric's loss. Before looting the Netherstone from the freshly made corpse, Shadowheart continued building her tower higher, until being so high that this happens. Do you see it? After reaching a certain height, the map is no longer red. You can now waypoint out of here and run directly to the end of Act 2. Before doing so, Lae'zel loots the Netherstone as an owlbear to avoid the Dream Visitor confrontation, and she moves to join Shadowheart. The whole reason for that tower escape route is because when your main character uses the portal to escape, you're normally ambushed by your Dream Visitor and forced to speak to them when exiting Moonrise Towers. Something we definitely can't have happen. Upon loading into the Act 2.5 campsite, Lae'zel, understandably pissed off by my poor leadership, attempts to ruin the day by insulting me. But thankfully, this too is dodgeable by reloading and spamming the artifact to snub her once more. Don't celebrate too soon though, because as soon as you long rest, you're going to be ending up in another dialogue. There's no switching to Lae'zel, the artifact dodges don't work, and the game even despawns your summons so they can't kill you in your sleep. Pretty weird that Larian thought of that. I tried a bunch of random stuff until throwing a spectator at Lae'zel the exact moment I went to sleep freed Lae'zel from the cutscene. There's no question in my mind as to why Lae'zel hates me so much. Because she's in combat, she didn't get to sleep, and she used invisibility to flee the encounter. Shadowheart is then then murdered in her sleep by her companion to avoid speaking. The Githyanki instantly appeared and into the portal we went. Approaching the Emperor again, it prompts me to talk, avoidable by spam clicking a summoned minion to bonk Shadowheart atop her head. That's about the 20th time now that Larian's tried to force me to speak, and after a struggle of an encounter where I just barely came out the victor, the Emperor immediately locks me down once more and has his way with me. I went back to my oh so many strategies which have got me out of talking in the past. Self-bonking didn't work, wild shapes proved ineffective, and the Emperor even stripped me of the oh so precious astral prism. I was completely stumped. I went back and did some testing on another save file, and did discover a way to skip it using silent shenanigans. However, doing so completely screws you, as the Emperor will only open up the exit portal after you've talked with him. Skipping this dialogue will soft lock your game. It's official. On patch 8, you cannot beat Baldur's Gate 3 without speaking to others. All because of one narcissistic mind flare. But I still have unanswered questions. How many words must be said? How many people must be spoken with? And is the rest of the game completable? Yeah, of course the initial challenges failed, but I know none of you want to watch me give up mid-nonsensical nightmare. I fully explored this dialogue tree, mapping it out to perfectly speak as little as possible. All in all, this chatty mother mind flayer forced 30 words out of us, and it was off to camp. Spectator Bro watched over us in our sleep, the leave camp option got me away without a fight, and now in Act 3 it's time to head into the city to face more problems. To avoid speaking with an orphaned child, I broke my own ankles, and disguised myself as a cat to sneak into the keep. I paused to observe Gortash's coronation from multiple angles, and eventually made my way into the lower city. Just like Act 2, long resting is banned because of the Emperor being a social butterfly. But unlike Act 2, we have another option. Helsik gave up her life without a fight, really not sure as to why, but thanks to her the Hells are accessible. I avoided Hope by killing Shadowheart again, not accepting the disguise she offers. Instead, I snuck in to steal my own from a nearby wardrobe. This clothing lets you walk around here undetected, and in Raphael's bedroom are the restoration faucets. On Tactician difficulty, it's an unlimited amount of long rests. Just so long as you don't piss off Raphael, you can keep coming and going as you please. As shopping isn't allowed, I raided Leroican's place for supplies, locking into both a strength elixir and a globe of invulnerability scroll. I then continuously robbed his illusionary shopkeep blind. The shopkeep isn't a real person, so you can pickpocket it an unlimited amount of times without anyone caring, even if you fail. Just be sure to be hidden in a cloud of fog. Orin's Netherstone is our first target. To get to her, you gotta deal with the local murderer named Dolan. I think that's his name anyways. I forget, and I'm too lazy to go look it up now. He was dealt with, and his password secured. The problem with passwords, though, is that they're words, and for all I know, there's some dude on the other side of the door waiting to hear me speak the word and then opening the door. I'm much too socially inept to take that risk. There's gotta be a better way. Into the sewers we went. The artifact snub trick let me ignore fake Orin to dodge her little chat, then I could panther by Manslaughter Chasm to reach Orin's door. Historically, boxes have solved a lot of my problems in past challenge runs, and if there's two things I learned this day, it's number 1, don't use a torch in this area, and number 2, the Ball Temple is one of the rare fully box-proof fortresses within this world. Thankfully, I had seen a technique used by Boosh where you stuff a bunch of chests up against the door and spam jump into it to clip through. I can confirm on patch 8 it still works without flaw. Orin, who remains in Yenna form with 5 HP, is then knocked out, the ballless Netherstone is claimed, and no one nearby seemed to mind, oddly enough. I'd never seen anyone escape the area without speaking, but I figured why not try the chests again? And to my surprise, it worked. Together we left the region for Worm's Rock Fortress. Katzel waltzed into the back of the room and used her Githyanki mage hand to drink a strength elixir. Mage hands can't trigger cutscenes, so it was able to return to the throne room and kidnap Gortash straight from his ceremony, bringing him back to our camp. I know it's much easier to just throw him off a cliff, but I read a comment the other day complaining that I never fight Gortash, so here you go. Gortash failed to defend himself in a 7 vs 1 situation, and secretly I'd hoped that by bringing him into camp it would block the cutscene you get when you go to loot his Netherstone. Bullshittingly enough, even as a badger it didn't. This cutscene makes 0 sense. Gortash's corpse is nowhere near the key, and worst of all, that damn Emperor forces you to talk again. Thankfully the game autosaves as soon as Gortash dies, so I reloaded and this time swapped to my elemental bow right before the cutscene triggered. I'd rather die than talk to that spit-faced gaslighter, so die I did do. Kind of amazing how often that trick works to avoid a conversation. Back in the lower city, the Elder Brain tasked us with killing Orin, but thankfully didn't ask me for my input. Before going any further, I robbed Vologir of his fireworks and explosives for the upcoming celebrations. Good guy Raphael let us borrow his bathhouse one final time. Lae'zel clearly didn't join my boat trip, but appeared alongside me afterwards. In the Morphic pool, my radiant orbs flashbanged these brain cats, guaranteeing my victory. We confronted the brain. All these domination attempts are done without flapping your mouth off, and the Emperor pulled me into the astral plane to save the day, but also ruin it. For you see, the Emperor has one more triggered dialogue here. I could either accept that this is mandatory and add those 3 words to our total, or spend the next 2 hours trying random crap just to avoid speaking a single sentence. Guess which one I did? All the usual tricks this time had failed. Couldn't down ourselves, couldn't force combat, couldn't use the artifact. Most summons despawn, and wild shapes are blocked out. But for this final trick, things got weird. Like, more weird than usual. So, Lae'zel starts by killing off Shadowheart to keep her out of the cutscene. Then Scratch is summoned, and she orders the pup to drink the Insanity's Kiss elixir from the Act 1 hag's house. This elixir turns anyone who drinks it hostile, so Scratch immediately starts combat with Lae'zel, who turns into an owlbear and triggers the brain's domination. After all that usual stuff, when the game loads you into the astral plane, the cutscene with the Emperor is delayed by some combination of all that bullshit that I just did, and Lae'zel takes priority to speak with me.
You prove intolerable. We are done.
I mean, she's not wrong. As a party leader, I did nothing for her. She runs off with Scratch and left forever. And since Lae'zel left the party, I'm not counting those words as us speaking. But the Emperor, not wanting to get involved in girl drama, had already left, skipping his usual conversation. Alone, I carried my 1,000 pounds of explosives up to the Emperor, and the only option without speaking is to release the nether stones, which was a gigantic relief that after doing so, he just gives a one-sided monologue for 10 minutes. I didn't have to say a word, and with that, we've replaced our Gith ally with a squid. In the Upper City, no speeches are to be given today. I flew over the meeting point having never met Withers to begin the gauntlet. The Emperor was ordered to chill out at the back, keeping him far away from the action, and as I climbed up the brainstem, I thought it's home free now. But as I got to the top to start the battle, Shadowheart clearly is speaking to the Emperor. I reloaded to start the encounter as a badger, prompting the Emperor to instead speak first.
Help me get close to the crown.
Which I'm pretty sure I've never heard that voice line before. Sanctuaried, we slowly made our way up to the crown, being sure to remain wild-shaped on turns 3 and 4 to prevent Shadowheart from speaking to the Emperor. A darkness arrow covered our Illithid ally while he channeled the portal, and once inside, a globe of invulnerability protected myself as I plopped down my explosives. Always gotta be safe when you're using these, you know. Very carefully, the explosives are triggered, one-tapping the brain, and the Emperor is on the cusp of dominating it. To avoid this bastard locking me into any future conversations and repay him for failing the challenge, I stabbed him. I'd rather doom the entire world than risk speaking again. I dominated the brain for myself, in my name. Baldur's Gate is screwed. The citizens, Ceramorphosicist. And I did not beat Baldur's Gate 3 without speaking. But I did only say 30 words. If you enjoyed this video, I'd recommend you check out one of my other challenge runs, like this one, where I attempted to beat Baldur's Gate 3 using only gift items. Big thanks to all of you for watching. Your likes and subs help out. Even more thanks to my channel members. You guys are amazing. Until next time, Proxy out.